Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how I composed the score to this film. So when I started this score, I knew I wanted it to be distinct. I wanted to put, my own spin on it. This is a short film that a lot of people have scored, but I wanted this one to be really quite unique. Um, so for that, I designed a lot of original sounds myself, which were used as motifs throughout the composition. So this is how the composition opens. So that's the opening. Very simple, very a bit sparse almost, but I find that there are a lot of compositions, in my opinion, which are too busy, and they actually take away from the film. Um, so this score gets busy in moments, and it's minimal in others as well. So I'll break down what's happening here in the start. As you can see, there's a lot of tracks that are muted because I've just got a bit of a messy workflow sometimes. But this project actually started as a university project for an assignment. So a lot of the stuff I've muted was for that because they wanted specific things in the score. When we start here, we've got this. So that is my partner's voice, which I took and I manipulated, and that's actually a recurring motif throughout the score because if you've not seen the film, the forest comes to life, it starts to move, and I wanted that's the main part of this movie, really. Besides the relationship between our main character and a dog, um, but I wanted to give the forest a voice, so it's not just a setting in the film; it's its own character. And to do that, I threw it into Ableton Simpler plugin. Sorry, it is a sampler, but it's called Simpler. Um, I turned the attack all the way up, the decays all the way down because the sustain's all the way up. And basically, what that means is that when I was playing it on my MIDI keyboard here, which you can hear there, I'm not going to pick it up because I'll end up knocking everything over. It plays in for as long as it's played in on the MIDI keyboard, which is not plugged in right now. And then I tuned it so it was in key. So this score starts in F Lydian, which is a mode of C major. And as you can see, when it starts there, it is in F. And then after that, we come into it's being played alongside some pianos, which are Spitfire originals. And that's also in F Lydian. It's a very, very simple melody, which is then repeated on what I think is a glockenspiel. But here is a glockenspiel. And a harp. That kind of just, it's a bit of a call and response. They talk to one another. The glockenspiel says something, and the harp responds. And then after this section, we get actually quite a long section of the movie, which we'll go through now bit by bit. Awesome. I love this bit. I actually think it's musically the richest part of the score. Which is almost a shame because there's a chase scene afterwards, which I do love, but there's just something about this which I love. So it starts with some strings here, which I played on. Everything is played in. There is nothing that here that is clicked in. And as you guys will notice here, there is a key change, and you will see that some things are out of key, and that might look a bit weird. But in my music theory book here, which is not a music theory book, it's just a notebook, this entire section is played as D minor into C major into D diminished. So basically, the reason I've done that is because F Lydian, which this composition is originally in, is a mode of C major, what means that they share the same scale. D minor also shares that scale, and diminished chord here, it just adds tension. So here's so if I solo that, you can hear there's a lot of tension in that because it's not quite right, but it works. And then we've got regular D minor, back to a diminished. Then it goes back to D. And now it starts to land on C major. So there are some borrowed elements there, but I really feel that they work. And they really added a lot to the sequence. I feel they kind of gave it all the tension. Accompanying those strings is that bass, but it's not, as you can see, it's not a bass. It is our vocal here, which is the same as the vocal I showed you guys earlier, but just manipulated a bit further. And it's pitched down by 12 cents, which is an octave. And they're being sent to a reverb for just to give it some wideness and some depth. And it's the same here. Here is following this here. Bass is following the exact same progression as this sequence here, but it's just pitched down by 12 cents. And our piano gets introduced, which is in F Lydian as well. So there's some really nice, but it's playing C major. It's playing the C major scale. So it sounds really. It goes from sounding quite haunting and quite you're unsure to actually sounding quite almost relieving. And then we get this section here. Right, so for this section, I started with the pads. So the pads, again, same thing. It's the same vocal sample, which again, is my partner. And just manipulated in, again, a bit of a different way to just give it a bit more suspense. Basically, all I did was I changed the LFO on it, and I brought it up here and here, the volume and the filter, and it gave it this really cool. And I detuned it. And again, it's been sent to the same reverb here. And accompanying that are these spiccato strings. I always get mixed up between spiccato and pizzicato. Considering I'm a music student, I probably shouldn't. But you know, that's just how we roll out here, you know. So again, it's in D minor. So it's going from D to F to A, but here is D, F, G sharp, which is obviously which is the same, you know, it's got the same tonality as A flat. It's diminished. Same thing as before. Just gives it suspense, really nice suspense. and then we double up here. Oh. And again, these were played in, so they're a bit off in terms of where they sit on each bar. But I adjusted them a bit, but I feel like, you know, you talk about strings here, they're a human instrument. So there should be some human error in the way that they are played, because that's only natural. And then accompanying them is actually some Ableton stock strings. Dark strings, they're called, darkened strings. They're fucking great. They sound so good. And these are going down the scale. And again, it's going D to G sharp, and then it goes up at the end, D to F. Because when something goes down a scale, it automatically sounds more, oh, what's going on? Whereas when something goes up, it sounds a bit more happy, even though it's, you know, it's still played in the minor scale. There's so much tension in that. I absolutely love the sound. I love that sound. And then that sounds much more natural at the end there. And then the bass is it's the BBC Symphony Orchestra from Spitfire, the double bass. Don't know why it's on envelope. And that's, again, doing the exact same thing as the others, D to F and D to G sharp. Great. And you know, separately they don't sound like whoa, but together I think they really, really do something cool. And this section at the end here, so that the way that they rise like that, again, I did on the MIDI keyboard. I haven't. It's a MPK Mini, but basically there is a modulation and pitch control here on the keyboard, and I just automated those in, and they sounded really good. And then our next kind of big section after that, again, the vocals come in. Again, the sound of the forest comes in here. And then our next big section is, she gets this, she slams it down, and the forest comes to life. Again, we're in 3/4 here, so I wanted it to feel like it was almost dancing. And this is that section here. So again, this section is made up of the same parts as the rest of the composition, really. Again, you've got a double bass, but we're back to F Lydian here. So you've got a double bass that is playing FAD, FAD all the way up the scale. You've got keys, which are playing the same melody as before. Again, FAD up the scale. It's the same recurring motif that was at the beginning, and which is also at the end of the film. You've got a bass here, which goes from F to E up the scale. I said before that this was bass, it wasn't the strings. I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. And then there's a viola up here, and basically the string layer is playing the exact same notes as the viola, but an octave higher. And in a bit of a different way. And we've got some chords. I always forget that these are in it. So we've got some vocal chords. And then at the end of this part, we have a tremicello that comes in. I don't know if they're called tremicellos. They're probably not. That's what I call them, because that's just what I know them as. Because we've got a really nice sounding score, but then danger hits, and you've got a drum hit there as well. The cello's just a what used to be Labs is now something to do with Splice. I don't know why. But it's just a stock string sound. Will I have to log in here? No, amplified cello quartet. Yeah. Oh, apparently I do have to log in. I ain't doing that. And then a drum hit, which is from Spitfire Originals. And then that leads in to our chase scene here. So this starts with some brass and some long string. Which again, I just automated the volume up. And the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted this to feel really unfamiliar, and there's a lot of tension. So the first thing I did was I changed the time signature here to 5/4, as you can see, there and there. I did that because 5/4 is a bit of an irregular time signature. Everyone's used to 4/4, and 5/4 is just that one extra beat that sometimes just feels a bit odd. But then, kind of to add on top of that, I attempted a polymeter, and basically what a polymeter is, for those who don't know, is it's when two different time signatures play off against each other. So in this one, I've got 4/4 and 5/4 playing off against each other, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is in 5/4 here, and we've got these brass. This brass is in 5/4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, so on. And it's the exact same with the bass. The brass and the bass follow the same progression, whereas the strings here follow a 4/4 time signature, and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 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 and 4. And having them play off against each other just adds this weird, it feels odd, and it adds a lot of tension. The drums are also in 4/4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after the dog hits the rock, these vocals come in, they're quite loud. And what they are is, again, my partner's vocals are one of them. And to further manipulate her voice, I put on Movement by Arcade. Was it Arcade? Or they are called Output? I don't know. These things confuse me. And it added a form of delay, which just added a lot of movement to the voice, made it sound very unusual. And that is layered with a Spitfire pad, Chilling Forest, and I've put up the distortion on it. And then these were grouped together, and I put some further movement on them. So see if I take this off. It adds quite a lot to the sound. And once she hits, the time signature goes back down to 3/4. And then we get our piano back again, our bass, our vocals, strings, exact same compositional layout as before, all in an F Lydian again. And then just that one little change, the glockenspiel going up the scale. Like that. And that was it in terms of musical elements. After that, it was more the mixing side, and to mix it, I attempted an ambisonic mix in Reaper, but that's going to be a separate video. Even though these videos will probably be out at the same time, so if that is something that you're interested in, go and see how I did that. Then you're more than welcome to Available Tool. Words, you're more than welcome to go and watch that. The last thing about this was the syncing of the film to certain points. It's not easy to do in Ableton. Logic and Cubase are quite clearly better than Ableton when it comes to this right now, but I do think Ableton is um is getting there. But basically, what I did was I close the video. Was I used Ableton's warp feature and I set it to a lead. This basically meant that the video controlled the BPM. So the film is, Ableton has detected that the film is for the majority around about 107 beats per minute. That only changes when the chase starts and it goes to 130 beats per minute, but that's something that I did myself. But I basically created these hit points here, and what you're able to do with them is you can click them in and you can quite literally change where the film hits on the bars. And it can be a bit clunky, but it worked here. And I was actually really, really pleased with the results, specifically at this point here, where when she taps the stick, but as you heard, the music really slows down at that point because I wanted to pull it to be really precise. But luckily, there's not too much going on in the musically at that point for you to really notice. But yeah, this was a really, really fun project. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I apologize, it's a bit clunky and it's a bit all over the place, but I've not recorded in a long time. I'm gonna get back into it though. I need to be putting out more content, so I'm gonna be aiming for a couple videos a month. I'm gonna be aiming to record one every week. Obviously, that doesn't mean that I can post one every week between university and work and just my personal life. It's about finding the time, but it is a priority for me. So yeah, but I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, there is another video about how I mixed this in Reaper. So if you want to go check that out, you're more than welcome. And if you actually just want to go and watch the film, that is also up on YouTube. There are two versions. There is a stereo version for wherever you are listening, and if you want a bit more of an immersive experience in your headphones, there is a binaural version as well. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe if you did, and thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.